Hello, both sides of the conversation family. We welcome you to this virtual space crafted especially for you. My name is Jada Curry, and I'm both sides of the conversation's marketing director and graphics design specialist. I want to take some time to ground us all as a community into this space we are about to open up in, so let's go through our community standards. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation, so we ask that you all be respectful of that. We also ask that you be respectful of each panelist, host, and participant. We do encourage healthy debates and conversations. Don't personalize anything with anyone. This includes name-calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. This will not be allowed or tolerated. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. You do not have to agree, but show respect. These community standards apply to all of our live shows and any virtual spaces that we hold on social media, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We want to make sure that we are caring for each other as a community. This is our priority in all of our endeavors as both sides of the conversation. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's show and continue to stay in touch with us via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or all of them. All right, thank you for listening and see you soon.
Mute yourself, Brittany.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at Both Sides of the Conversation Live. We meet here every Sunday virtually, starting at 2 p.m. My name is Brittany Doyle. I will be one of your hosts for the afternoon, and I would like to introduce you to my co-host and executive director, John Henry.
What's up, everybody? John Henry here today. Looking forward to an amazing conversation with the parents of our community as we talk about going back to school. So we'll be getting started shortly here. Before we get started, I want to go through a couple of community announcements and give some acknowledgement to community. Yesterday was a phenomenal day out in the community in San Francisco. There was a number of events that took place. First, I want to give shouts out to Brittany Ford and to the Mo Magic team, Collective Impact, James Bagnola, and the rest of the team for putting together a phenomenal backpack giveaway. We did go live yesterday. A lot of community came out. There was food, there was music, a lot of our young people. Shout out to the San Francisco Fire Department for coming out and supporting the event as well. There was a lot of community resources, a lot of community information out there, and just nice to be out in community with everybody yesterday. And both sides of the conversation, we was moving around event to event. So just want to thank them for the phenomenal job that they did put together that event. A lot of families were impacted. A lot of things were going on at the event that really just helped everybody out in our community. So just want to thank everybody that participated. Want to give a huge shout to our mayor, London Breed, for supporting the community, making sure that the resources get to the community. Want to give a huge shout out to Shaman Walton for doing their work in the community yesterday, as well as our elected officials and community. Try to work together to make our communities a better place. So what a phenomenal event that was. Just happy to be a part of it. Sponsored that. Both sides of the conversation was out there. Glad to see the community that showed up. It was just nice to see everybody out, even though we're in this pandemic, still seeing community get out and get some of those resources and support with the social stuff that was happening out there. Also want to give a huge shout out to the City Eats, to my brother Kaim Baker over there, to the Vibe and Smile family, Us for Us, and want to give a huge shout out to the Feline Finesse Dance Group, where the young ladies came out yesterday, where we fed over 1,100 meals to community. So just want to give those young people their props for coming out. We had a lot of young people that was out, and it's just a great thing to see our young people in the community giving back, helping feed those in need. What a phenomenal job the City Eats are continuing to do to bless our community. As we know, these times that we are getting very, very tight. Financially, people are being impacted. So just way to go to the City Eats team for continue to put together an amazing event, allowing our young people to get involved. It is just a blessing to see our young people having that humility, having the compassion to go out in the community and give out to those that's in need. So what a great event that was yesterday. Then want to give a great shout out to Black Men Enhance and to the Now HP family, where yesterday had the skating event going on for community, a nice peaceful event where community was able to come out, roller skate, listen to music, and have fun with community. What a phenomenal event that was. And it was just nice to see things happening across the city and all of our community being engaged and involved. Lastly, or secondly, I want to give a shout out to From the Heart and to the From the Heart team who put together the Baby Hunters Point D10 cleanup yesterday, out there with Shaman Walton, David Chu, a number of our elected officials out in the community, boots on the ground, helping clean up our community and making D10 a better place, a better environment. And community, please help. If you see people dumping and doing things, please check them on it. We cannot have our community looking like a dump, especially as we're transitioning back into school. We want our young people to be able to walk through our sidewalks and be able to have a smooth transition through school. So just want to give From the Heart a great shout out for all the work that they did yesterday. Then want to give a shout out to Standing in Peace, Siobhan Hunter. They put a phenomenal event up in Potrero Hill yesterday, bringing the community out. Want to give a shout out to Diane Gray, 100% College Prep, for showing up, supporting that, as well as a number of other community leaders who were there to support, to make sure that community was involved. Nice to see DJ Reggie out there, some of the community people, and all of our young people playing flag football, music, and food. And they also gave away backpacks as well. So just want to say shout out to them. There was a lot of backpack giveaway. The La Raza Park had a backpack giveaway. Want to give a shout out to All In Entertainment as well as Vibes and Smile for making that happen and make sure that our community and the mission also we're receiving backpacks and things of that nature. Want to give a huge shout out to Director Cheryl Davis at the Human Rights Commission for putting those backpacks together. Some of those workbooks and books and color and stuff that they put in those backpacks for our young people are just phenomenal. And just nice to see some of her work get out to the community. And I hope the parents of the community appreciate some of those booklets and workbooks that they put together to put in those backpack. Just phenomenal stuff. She is amazing, and she's making sure that our young people in the community are being educated. So with that being said, enough of those announcements. We're going to go on and jump into our world announcement. It's a lot. This weekend, it was a lot happening. There are more backpack giveaways. So if you missed the Mo Magic backpack giveaway, this Saturday, we will have the B Magic backpack giveaway. It'll be at 155 Jennings Street from 10 to 2 p.m. So please get out there. We'll be promoting that event this week, all during the week on our 3 live shows, as well as the day before the event. So if you feel like you missed out, there will be another backpack giveaway that we'll be a part of at B Magic 155 Jennings Street. With that being said, we just go move into some of our local and national announcements before we get started. The Defense Secretary is now considering making it mandatory for all active U.S. troops to get vaccinated, as this pandemic is still moving. This variant, Delta variant, is still pushing through our community. So as more and more mandates come, I know these conversations are going to get heated as people are feeling the pressure to be forced to take the vaccination. But just seeing the spike in the numbers, I've been on a couple of the Department of Public Health calls. These numbers, especially in our Black and brown communities, are being impacted drastically. So just want to make sure community is aware of that. Please, if you haven't got vaccinated or you haven't got tested, please go out. There are a number of vaccination spots across the city, across the Bay Area, that are doing free vaccination, free testing. If that's what you feel like you want to do, please go to the free sites and get tested or vaccinated. The Pan-Africanist Ramoko Rashid passed away on August 2nd. Just wanted to get that information out to community. That brother was big about African history, doing things for community. So just wanted to acknowledge and condolence to their family as they grieve that loss. In California, the Department of Public Health has announced all healthcare workers or healthcare workers working in healthcare facilities will have to be vaccinated or at least having their second dose of vaccination by September 30th. I have started seeing more and more signs up. It is very important that people be aware of that, especially if you have emergencies and you go into the emergency rooms for these workers. If they're not vaccinated, they won't be going in there. So be mindful. There might be a shift in staff. So be patient. If it's not an emergency, try to use other alternatives. There is a big pushback right now. I've seen an article from the sheriff's department. There's a number of city departments that are pushing back. So just understand, community, that there might be some shortage in services as more and more departments are pushing their employees to be vaccinated. And as people push back, it's definitely going to affect some of the services that are provided from some of the city departments. So just be aware of that. All visitors will have to be tested and have to have a negative test before going into hospitals on August 11th. All nursing homes, skilled facilities, you would have to provide proof of vaccination, or you have to have that 72-hour test before you could go visit loved ones in some of these healthcare facilities. Just wanted to make sure community is aware that they are changing how we visit and interact with those that are in these facilities due to the rise of the COVID vaccination. Also want to give a huge shout out to the young brother that was the first Black valedictorian from Oakland High, Ahmad Muhammad. He was honored with the Chief Award. That is an honorable award for the young brother. The Oakland Fire Chief was elated to present the young scholar that award, and he will be attending Stanford this fall. So community, let's get behind the young brother and support him. I've been watching the news stories and seeing him. Phenomenal young man, and just happy to see the Oakland Fire Chief, the mayor, different people acknowledging this young brother, and just phenomenal stuff. So with that being said, every Tuesday we will have our Hidden Gem segment where we will continue to highlight our Black and brown businesses at 7 p.m. As well as uplifting our community leaders and activists that are doing things to positively impact our community. So if you all new to both sides of the conversation, we have 3 live shows a week. And on Tuesday, that's where we highlight our Black and brown businesses as well as our community leaders. So if you're a Black and brown business out there or a small business owner, please go to our website, sign up, as we can get you on and let you promote your business for free on our platform and connect you with community. It's very important that community know where our Black and brown businesses are so that they could go ahead and support them, because we know the economical power that comes when we support each other and patronize those businesses. So look forward to our Hidden Gem segment coming up this Tuesday. It should be phenomenal, and we should have some more hidden gems that's going to be blessing our community. This Thursday, we're going to have another educational Thursday. Every Thursday at 6 p.m., we have different community organizations, leaders, businesses come on and do a PowerPoint presentation to educate community. This weekend, Cynthia's coming back. They're going to be doing legacy planning and giving community information how to prepare when it comes to leaving that generational wealth to our young people and to community. So that should be a great segment this Thursday. And then next Sunday, we're going to have another Sunday conversation where we're going to be talking about the COVID-19 vaccination and what's going on with the numbers. We're going to have some of the DPH, some of our doctors from UCSF to come on and talk about some of the myths, some of the things that's going on in the community. We're hearing a lot of things that sometimes are not true, but it's going to be definitely a great conversation for community to be a part of next Sunday. And then on the 22nd, we're going to be having a conversation about colorism. Still looking for a few more panelists to join that conversation. If that is you out there and you would like to be a part of this colorism conversation, you know, the light skin versus the dark skin, how things work. Is it really true? Is it a myth? Are people being affected by colorism? It should be a great conversation. We will hope to have you on that conversation on the 22nd. I'm going to be all in that conversation because I'll be feeling that colorism stuff. I'm always impacted by colorism. But then the last Sunday of the month, we're going to be having a relationship conversation. We have some phenomenal guests that's going to be joining. We're going to be talking about relationships in the Black and brown community. How do we fix them? How do we make it better? How do we uplift these relationships in our community? I think it'll be a great conversation. If you would like to be a part of that conversation, please go to our website and sign up. And fellas, I hope y'all out there join the conversation. I don't want to be the only man that have to deal with all these sisters talking about what's wrong with relationships in the Black community, because they don't want to hear from me. So I need some other brothers to help support. We have a number of sisters already signed up. Please, my brothers out there, come support your brother so we can have this relationship conversation. And y'all know these conversations will be very, very intense. So yes, hopefully I get some support from my brothers in the community. With that being said, go ahead, Miss Brittany. I'm going to turn it over to you to go ahead and go over the information and background and then introduce today's guest.
Okay, yes, please come and join the show because we do not want to hear from John Henry, for sure. Okay, so I want to go through the background for today's show. There has been a lot of themes popping up, and I'm just going to run through the most common ones so that we can be aware of what the conversation is looking like in our communities. And so we're starting with the discussion around learning through the pandemic and what the experience has been with distance learning. And there has been a lot of discussion around families talking about how they've noticed changes in their children's behaviors, their academic performance, their social and emotional well-being, and just so much more. And I'm very interested to hear what a lot of the experiences has been with the parents that are on our panel today. You know, for a lot of parents, they say that they have been forced in becoming like academic teachers. We already know that parents are the first teachers for our youth, but a lot of parents were forced into the role of becoming academic teachers on a daily basis. And I know for some, they weren't ready for that. The discussion around safety and how there's been a mandate that we now have to wear masks indoors and in all public spaces, and how the Unified School District has also implemented this same requirement for the school sites, which means that our youth are now going to be wearing masks all day long. There's discussion around the social and emotional well-being and how a lot of parents are worried about the overall well-being of their children. And while they've been participating in distance learning, what is that transition going to look like for them going back to in-person? Because for many, they have their first experience with school virtually. So now they're transitioning into an in-person, and what is that going to look like for them? The issue around assessing timely resources. Last year, while we were sheltered in place, we realized that there was a huge disparity around our access to technology, internet, and basic necessities around food. And so the district had to step in and solve this issue. And so they had to pass out computers, they had to set up free food pickups, they had to offer a lot of free books, bags, you know, all sorts of stuff throughout the summer. And so these are things that we know that we have to be consistent with moving forward. And what does that look like for us? This past year, we also experienced two pandemics, racism and COVID-19, where both pandemics disproportionately impacted Black and Brown communities. Our children's exposure to it all played out live and in color across the screens of TV, social media. It was a lot of discussion in our home, throughout our community. And to add to a lot of the trauma, a lot of what is caused, we have also seen an uptick in community violence in a lot of our neighborhoods, mostly African-American neighborhoods with our children. And so there's no denying that this has had a huge impact, not only in our community, but our children and their ability to learn. And so I know that we have like a really great panel for everyone today. I'm very, very excited to hear what everyone's experience has been, what everyone has to say. I think that this is going to be a great discussion today. We have parents and educators. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call each person's name one by one. And if you could just take 1 to 2 minutes and just give us a little background, let us know where you're from, what you do. Just tell us why you're here today. What brought you on the show today? And so I'm going to start with Crystal Hawkins.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Crystal Hawkins. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I work in the San Francisco Unified School District in the early education department. I oversee the Shoestrings Children's Center. It's a program designed to support children with building their social and emotional skills so that they can be served in their general ed classrooms. I don't think this is new news, but there's an overrepresentation, particularly of Black students in special education for emotional disturbances. So the program is designed to combat that with our youngest learners. I am a South Central Los Angeles native, born and raised, and I am currently, I have my own outpatient therapy private practice in the East Bay in Oakland. I see individuals and families for outpatient therapy. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us today. Herman Pratt.
I think Herman's having some connection issues. Just go ahead. We'll come back to him.
We will come back to Herman. Rianda Baptiste.
So good afternoon, everybody. I am Rianda Batiste, and I'm here with my forever co-host, Langston. I am a APAC parent leader and a mother of 4. 2 have already exited the school district or are considered alumni of the school district, I should say. And one will be 11th grader going into George Washington High School this year. I serve on the APAC team as the parent leader, as I said, and I am from San Francisco and I live in the Bayview community.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, Tony Hines.
You got to unmute yourself, Tony.
Unmute yourself. One more time. There.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Hines. I'm also a PAC member. I've had children in the district since 1995, 6 graduates, 1 fresh graduate that I'm in the car and we're on our way to Suno. We're dropping her off. So, job well done, folks. Y'all could do this. Also, I'm a parent activist, a parent organizer. I organize parents, often Black and brown parents, to fight against the disparities in the school district, and just really hang out with Letitia and all the other folks on the APAC to help ourselves and other people, African-American students and families and communities, and parents of African-American children, make sure they can navigate the school district and, know their rights and responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
On the road. And I want that gator. Don't forget about my gator.
All right. Next, we have Mauricia and Raymond Robinson.
Hello, everybody. My name is Raymond Robinson, the husband of Mauricia Robinson, San Francisco native, retail store manager, father of 5.
I'm Mauricia Robinson, Raymond Robinson's wife. We have 5 beautiful babies, 2 graduates, 1 in 10th grade, going to 11th grade, 1 going in 2nd grade in the fall, and then we have a TKer, Zaire. He's 4. He'll be 5 soon. I'm also a parent leader for the African American Parent Advisory Council for the APAC. And I also work for San Francisco Unified School District as the Community Engagement Manager for the Educational Placement Center.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Next, Letitia Irving.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Letitia Irving. I am the African American Parent Advisory Council Program Coordinator. We've been talking a lot about APAC. APAC is a parent-led organization that's designed to listen to the voices and the experiences of Black families in our community, or families of Black children, to respond to those voices by educating ourselves and one another on district resources, policies, and those in our community as well, and then to advocate for high quality educational experiences for Black children in this district. My most important title is parent. I'm a parent of 2, 1 by love and 1 biological. My baby is a 16-year-old. She is an 11th grader in the San Francisco Unified School District as well. And I am born and raised in San Francisco's Bayview, Hunters Point. I'm a native daughter and very happy to be here with you all and super grateful for you hosting APAC today.
Thank you. Thank you. Were we able to get Herman Pratt back on the line?
No, we still have Sienna down there.
Okay, I know. And then we have Sienna Dunn.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Sienna Dunn. I am a parent of a TK student at Tule Elk Elementary School. My daughter graduated from Raphael Elementary School. She now goes to private school. I am a San Francisco Fillmore District native, born and raised in San Francisco. I also work for the city and county. Did I lose you guys? I also work for the city and county of San Francisco as a can you hear me? I also work for the city and county of San Francisco as a supervisor with San Francisco Municipal Transit Agency. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for all the panelists joining us today. This should be a phenomenal conversation. I'm looking forward to it, especially with Miss Crystal here, because everybody knows me at both sides of the conversation. I'm always about mental health and how do we help our young babies when it comes to mental health. So I'm sure we'll get to that part of the conversation. But we're going to start off with Miss Letitia to start off today's conversation, and then we'll just do this popcorn style and jump in there. And Brittany, we'll start getting the questions up on the screen. And as community join us, please, community, if you like to join the conversation, add feedback, please use the live chat function on our Both Sides of the Conversation YouTube channel. That's the only way we'll be able to get up those. Or if you use the Facebook Both Sides of the Conversation page, we'll be able to get those up there for our panelists. If you have any questions, any other parents out there maybe have a question or concern that they would like to ask, please use the Both Sides of the Conversation live chat function, and we'll get those questions up there to today's panelists. So I see Herman, he's still having some internet connectivity issues. Once he get a little situated, we'll try to bring him up to introduce himself. But I'm going to turn it over to Letitia to start today's conversation.
Thank you so much. So again, I told you all that I was a parent, so I will be speaking from both perspectives today as a parent of an 11th grader who has been away from school for a year and a half now. And then as a parent educator and somebody who works very closely with our African-American parents. I think we're just going to start jumping into the questions. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, we could just go ahead and start jumping into the questions. I had a couple of questions too that I wanted to ask everybody. With the increase of the COVID and the Delta variant, as parents and educators, how do you all feel about your young people coming back to school? Do you feel that the schools are equipped to handle if we have an outbreak? I know today, this week, I was looking at one of the articles in Brentwood. Their school went back last week, and I believe 47 students was tested positive with COVID, and I think they shut that school back down. So I would like to hear from the parents. Is that a concern for you all? Do you feel the school district or your schools reached out to you and kind of gave you game plans on how they were going to deal with it? I think that's where we want to start first, and then we could just move into the rest of the questions. But anybody can answer it popcorn style, one at a time. I just want to hear the perspective of community.
All right. I think I'm going to jump in here real quick and say that this is the first time, maybe not for everybody, but for most people within that we've ever experienced a pandemic, right? So we've never been in a pandemic before. And I think I was on both sides of the conversation before, and I talked about this, having a little bit of compassion. And what I do want to say that nobody was perfect, but San Francisco Unified School District, in my opinion, did a really great job of figuring out how to jump on board. And how to fix it and make things happen for our children. So there were hiccups along the way. So you asked the question, do I think that SFUSD is prepared? I don't know. I'm not sure any of us can be completely prepared for something that we're not in control of. But what I do think is that we've had educators who have worked around the clock, who have not taken breaks. We have had family leaders, such as the members on this panel today and the African American Parent Advisory Council, who have not had breaks, making sure that we are consistently advocating for what our children need to return to school. But I don't know. I don't know if what we will do, and I think that San Francisco Unified School District has said very publicly that they're working close with the Department of Public Health just to make sure that if something happens, we're ready, that when we bring our children back, that our buildings are ready. I don't think that our buildings were ready last year, so we couldn't bring all the kids back, but we were trying, and they have worked around the clock. So I do want to just show some appreciation for that. And then I'm going to show some appreciation for my daughter's school. So I know that not all schools have come back yet. Administrators just got back in the building a couple of weeks ago. Teachers are just getting back in the building. But my daughter's school held a parent safety night last Monday. And they were super transparent about what is going to happen when our kids come back, when they have to put these masks on all day, how they're going to be eating outside, how every room now has ventilation. And the rooms that don't have exterior windows now have these industrial fans and ways that they're going to make sure that our kids are filtrating and getting fresh air throughout. So I think that they're prepared. I think our schools are trying. I don't know that every school is there. And I think that as we continue to go. We got another week before school starts. So in this coming week, hopefully every parent's going to get reached out to. And one of the things I'll continue to encourage every Black parent, every parent, is to make sure that you're not waiting to be reached out to, but that we're proactively calling, saying, hey, is it safe? What are the protocols? I didn't receive anything in the mail. Every parent should have received something in the mail by now, or by email, which was like a 7-page document. And I'll make sure that I link it. It's in the APAC newsletter, which you all have seen go. Okay, you have seen a smore.com and a link go across your screen. We send out a monthly newsletter, and in that newsletter, we put SFUSD's updates. So all the updates that are coming out, if you stay in contact with APAC, you'll be able to get those.
All right, great information. Anybody else want to jump in there?
I'd like to jump in from the city and county side. Our youngest baby, Zaire, is not yet in SFUSD. He's still in preschool. And so when the pandemic struck, he was in a city or county ran preschool program. And he actually, because of our work schedules, our kids had to be in care. So we searched immediately to find somewhere that was open for us, where he could go. And he did a half-day program. And his program actually shut down a few times because of different COVID exposures. And I think that what can be said there is that as Letitia said, the district has done their job at trying to prepare and get ready, and nobody knows what it's going to look like or feel like if something happens. But taking notes from the city organizations that have been running program and doing things since the pandemic started, as well as our after school programs and our beacons who were hosting our babies during the pandemic, and those lessons learned and applying those and hopefully the district has applied some of those lessons learned to help prepare for when the kids come back. But yeah, it's something new, and it was hard for us being with the exposures happening and kids having to be out of school for 14 days, and then possibly the whole house having to be shut down for 14 days. So just thinking about all of those things as well is important.
It was also challenging for him as well, too, being a 4-year-old in preschool for the last 6 months and experiencing that, not being around his friends, stuck at home with us, and we have to go to work, find a babysitter. So it's a lot of different challenges. But now that he's back in program consistently, throughout the whole day, he's a happier child. But it was challenging on him.
Wow, very important information. I still think about the social connection. I'm a grandfather. I got a 5-year-old grandbaby. I don't have no babies in the school, but my grandbaby, I always think about that, that social part that they're missing, doing the Zoom school to now going back into person, how to deal with each other. It's going to be very interesting to see. But anybody else, we go keep pushing around. I got questions already coming in from the community. I'll start getting them in, but I want to give everybody opportunity to start rolling through.
I'll start getting them in, but I want to give everybody opportunity to start rolling through. When I my daughter was a senior, and the was a junior, and then she became a senior, so her whole senior year. And I remember my first thought was remembering, not hating on none of the schools in particular, how some of the schools were not clean, how some of the bathrooms were not clean, how some of the food was not good. I was like, my daughter's not going. I was like, we just gonna ride these 2 weeks out, right? That's what I was thinking last year, and then we'll just regroup. So as she started her senior year, only at this, I have a lot of compassion for people with itty bitties. I do not have an itty bitty. I may have a different opinion and perspective if I did. But my baby was 18, well behaved, sit in the room. I actually feel like it was a little better because I think if she hadn't been kind of forced to stay in, I might have had to chase her more to do work. She went to 100% college prep almost every day. She got ready for school. She worked hard to make sure she had the rigorous classes and bringing up her GPA. So for me, I was like, my daughter's not going back. Like there was no way she was going back to school because it was much better for her to be home. And I felt it was safer and cleaner. And I had a little pandemic anxiety. I'm a little better now. But yeah, she wasn't going back. And she graduated, so I don't have to deal with it this year, even though I do have grandchildren going. One other part of my identity I forgot to mention, I have like 5 generations of family in an 8 square block around 3rd Street. So just like with APAC, my family has such diverse thoughts. None of us are going to have the same opinion. And like you said, both sides, we have like about 5 sides of the conversations.
All right, thank you. Miss Letitia, there's a comment in the chat.
Miss Letitia,
they asking, is APAC also support charter schools? If somebody could speak to that so they could get their question answered. Do you all support charter schools as well?
So that is a tricky one. So APAC supports Black families of Black children in San Francisco, period. So everybody is always welcome. APAC is an open meeting or open forum. And then the advocacy we do is for all families that are all families of African-American children. Where it gets tricky is that SFUSD is where we go to advocate. We go to the Board of Education for the San Francisco Unified School District. Although charter schools are a part of that, charter schools have a different operating system that we are not privy to. One of the things that we are hoping to do and that we're working on as we expand, really grateful for some Dream Keepers funds that's helping us expand, is to get into our charter schools. And so charter school families are always welcome. We need more charter school families as leaders so that we can get windows into what's going on in charter schools. But just know that it's something we are working to actively expand right now.
Definitely very good information, very pertinent information. Community that's watching, please go to our live chat on YouTube. Stop texting me. Everybody texting me. Can y'all ask them this? Please go to the live chat on our YouTube. I know a lot of people are very close connected to me, but please go to our YouTube. Put your comments and questions inside of the live chat in our Both Sides of Conversation YouTube channel, and we'll get those questions up. I can't be doing the show and answering all your questions. I love y'all. I know y'all got direct contact with me, but please use the live chat function so we can get our questions out to the panelists. Thank you. All right. Did anybody else want to jump in and drop any questions?
I had a question. Around safety, and I actually wanted to hear from the parents to hear, do you feel that your child will be safe returning back to school in the fall?
As a parent of an SFUSD student and also one in private school, I can say that I have been safe. I feel safe. I feel like my kids are safe. My kids have transitioned well to wearing the mask every day. We haven't had any issues. There have been no scares as far as COVID is concerned. So I'm extremely comfortable and confident with the school's ability to make sure that our kids are safe.
Any other parents? Everybody concur with that? Does everybody feel like the school districts and their respective communities are feeling safe for the young people to go back?
That's gonna. So for my daughter, we joined that health and safety call the other day, and she made a pros and cons list. And she wrote it out because she had to talk to me and her dad and let us know that she was ready to be vaccinated because she was worried about her safety. And vaccines are hard for our family. We don't typically do vaccines or do flu shots and things like that. But she didn't feel safe. And it's her body, her choice. And so we gave her a choice of what she wanted to do, and we honored that. So she decided to take the vaccine. So she's on shot 1. And, I felt she'd be okay. I thought she'd be okay. I know that some of our children in high school, are going to buck the rules a little bit. Our babies are very resilient. Our babies, like Sienna said, are going to wear those masks and do what they're doing. But in high school, it gets a little different when you're physical, or, my daughter's in an art school and all those art children or children are in their art groups and, they get comfortable. So I worried a little bit about, okay, kids are going to take their mask off. People aren't going to be as safe and protected as they should because they are children. But then, I figured she's going to wear her mask. So as for me in my house, that's what we say. And you have to wear it all the time. And she's still going to have to do it regardless to the fact that she's being vaccinated. But safety was huge for her. And she did not feel safe going back. And for her dad, I think it was harder for him to decide to agree with it, to allow her to be vaccinated. But we want to honor our kids. And so I think that's part of it, is talking to our children about what they don't feel safe about, and then going and asking those questions directly to your schools about, hey, my child is worried about this. What's the protocol for it? My child is concerned that, other kids won't wear their mask. How are you going to enforce that? And so I think that's what we're doing. That's the kind of questions I asked when I joined the parent call last Monday. And it's what I encourage all other families to do if they don't feel safe. But I do think my daughter's going to be safe. I think the school's going to do what they have to do. But I think what I'm going to enforce in my home about her washing her hands, keeping her personal distance, and making sure she has her mask on is also equally as important.
Well, I'm very concerned. I'm a concerned grandfather. My granddaughter has asthma. With these wildfires and the air quality here in the Bay Area getting worse. Having a mask on all day in class with her having asthma is a very big concern for me. So I'm definitely trying to see what they're going to be doing as far as the continued ventilation and making sure that she's going to be able to breathe. So that's one of my concerns. Here at home when she was doing Zoom, she could still walk around without her mask, but now having to have that mask on plus running, we got to realize too that our young people are going to be back doing full activities. Most of the school stuff that I saw, kids will be back playing kickball and basketball and things of that nature. Having a mask on, playing sports, as well as we know our young community here in D10 are infected with asthma and different things. I'm a little concerned about it, having a mask on all day. We'll definitely see how the numbers pan out in the first couple of months, but that's one of my concerns that I'm still not 100% comfortable with, but we'll give it a test run and see how it goes.
Right. I was wondering if that was realistic, if you think that if your children will be able to keep a mask on all day, or is that a lot to ask from children?
I think go ahead, Crystal. Equity of voice, boo, go.
So in the school district, I work with our youngest learners. We have children as young as 2 years and 9 months. And I think what happens, a lot of us as adults are concerned possibly about the things we may want to do or not want to do. If a child needs to know how to read, we teach them how to read, tie their shoe. So now that we are going to school during a pandemic, we show the children the expectation for being in classrooms during a pandemic. And I have been running my 10th cohort this is our 10th week starting tomorrow. And all 8 of our babies have been wearing their masks. They know they take them off to drink. They have their water bottles. They can drink their water bottles whenever they want, and they take them off to eat. So again, I think a lot of times for us adults, us projecting our fears onto the children. But if we show them this is how we're in community together during this time, thus far, the kids have been excited to be with each other and are wearing their masks.
Definitely great information. I'm glad to hear that. I know community are asking a lot of questions. They come in. I'm gonna start getting them up as we talking, but don't trip. We'll try to answer them as they come in. I know a parent is on here asking where can a parent find for the right information to prepare financially for college. And different things of that nature. To that Facebook user, please go to our Both Sides of the Conversation YouTube channel. Look under our Educational Thursday. We have had some phenomenal financial experts come on, talk about 529 accounts, college funded accounts. It's a lot of information there. But if anybody on the panel have any information that you guys would like to talk to or put in a private chat, maybe the school district has some programs that I'm not aware of, but you guys can put in a private chat and I'll get those comments. But to that Facebook user, I don't know who it is because they're not popping up, but we do have a lot of financial information here at Both Sides of the Conversation. I have some financial coaches that I could connect you with. Please go to our Both Sides of the Conversation YouTube channel. Look under our Educational Thursday. There are a number of financial literacy conversations and educations about how to prepare your kids for college. So just check it out. We could just move along. Did anybody want to finish the conversation about the safety part before we move on?
So I just had one thing. I just, for me, since my daughter is going into 11th grade, we had the conversation on if she wanted to actually return back or if she wanted me to see about doing the, what is it called? Independent study for her. And for her, she said she did struggle with the 10th grade with some of the understanding parts of it. Like she had the support from 100% college prep. So she was able to get the social aspect down, but she just wanted comprehensively because this is her 11th grade year and she's going to be taking an AP class. She wanted to be in the classroom. So I'm supporting that. And I just reminded her, you know, you have to wear your mask every day. You know, I want you to wash your hands when you can and use your sanitizer. And so just reminding her to continually be safe and to continue to social distance. For me, I just hope that if the numbers do get better, that the district will continue to be bold and courageous and make that stance to shut it down when it needs to. It is a little concerning to me across the board with the city with all these cases that they're saying there's 1,000 a day, but we haven't shut down yet. So now I'm a little worried about the ulterior motives that may be in the background that we don't know about. So I just hope that the district will just be bold and courageous and shut down if we need to, even if the city doesn't, for us to go ahead and just take that stance and do it to make sure the babies are protected.
Great information. Letitia, I know you wanted to comment about the question that the parent asked about the vaccination for the school staff. If you want to go ahead and talk to that, or anybody else want to add anything to that?
Sure. So real quick, someone asked the question if our paraprofessionals and our school site staff, lunch aides, employees were required to be vaccinated. And at this time, they are being strong. We, because I'm an employee of SFUSD, are strongly being encouraged to be vaccinated, but it is not a mandate for SFUSD employees. I do believe a large number of SFUSD employees have been vaccinated, but we did hear from our city and county that they were going to implement mandates or testing, weekly testing if you didn't get it. We do have testing sites for our staff to go and get tested as often as they want to. The district is trying to figure out, they sent a survey out to try to figure out how many of their staff have been vaccinated so they can respond appropriately. But at this time, there is no mandate. Now, for our partners that are coming into the schools to do like special activities or community partners, they must have vaccinations, to my understanding. And then another parent in the chat said that her son is almost 12 and he's expressed that he'd like to be vaccinated as soon as he is able, and asked if there if schools are providing vaccinations for middle schoolers. So I put a link in that hopefully can be shared, and you should go to that. It's an SFUSD link, and if you want your child to be vaccinated, there's a way to sign up. So check out that link, or just go to sfusd.edu and type in COVID in the chat, and then it'll pop up for you as well. And I do apologize. So I represent the San Francisco Unified School District. My child's a child in the San Francisco Unified School District, but I do understand that everybody listening today may come from districts from across the Bay Area or throughout. So I would just encourage you, check in with your school. Don't hesitate to ask these questions. Don't wait for folks to hand it to you. Go and ask if you want to make sure that you're prepared for school.
Definitely very, very important information. I want to kind of shift the conversation now to, to Crystal a little bit about mental health. As a social worker and dealing with some of that work that you're doing, how are young people being impacted over the last year in our families? I know a lot of the young people have voiced their opinion about being in the house, and how a lot of young people are dealing with anxiety and dealing with the depression of not being able to socialize. How much is that not only a reality, but how much has it impacted the community as far as, our young people out in the community?
Well, as Letitia mentioned earlier, I know me being the 21-year-old person I am, psych. But I know for me, this is my first pandemic. So for our babies, this was also their first pandemic. I think, again, as adults, we often think certain stressors or life events don't impact children the same way. I live alone, and I know I got on my own nerves being in the house by myself. So children are designed, humans are designed, we're created to be in interaction and in community with each other. That's how we learn. A lot of times, a lot of behaviors or just skill sets is from being in community with each other. And then school was not designed to be online. There's research and data that supports that children shouldn't have this much screen time. So for some of our babies to have 2 hours a day on the Chromebooks, that's a lot. I know for myself, I wear prescription contacts and glasses. And when I went to the optometrist, she goes, Crystal, your eyes got a little worse because it's so much screen time. So school was never designed to be this way. Again, as I mentioned, as far as the mental health, we are designed to be in community and interaction with each other. So yes, the way that we missed our friends or going out and doing things, that was the same for our babies. So just understanding that as we're ready to transition back into school, that a lot of the academics, that stuff is important, but it's going to be important for the kids to see their friends, get that, get their feet and get their bearings back on just how to engage with their peers, the classroom materials, understanding that they were also impacted. A lot of times children are diagnosed with particular like anger disorders or things that way when inside they're sad. So imagine your first couple of months or time in school, you were in person, and then here comes March 2020, you haven't been back to school yet. And then for some of the older kids, they can understand like, oh, it's a pandemic. That's why I can't go to school. We tried to explain to the children in the most developmentally appropriate way what COVID-19 is and why you have to be home. The kids, 2.5 years old, all the way up to 5, they want to see their friends. So understanding that it's going to be a lot of re-engaging with their peers and adults that is going to have to happen for our kids to be socially, emotionally, and academically successful as we return to in-person learning this fall.
Yeah, I think that's very important information. I mean, because I'm still looking at how much support are, really going to the kids, and maybe you could speak to some of that, how much mental health time during the Zoom school did the school districts do to interact with the young people or the parents? I mean, I know it was a difficult times in transition for parents as well. And I know a lot of these parents was able to be there with their kids and kind of see some of the things that our teachers deal with not being able to have patience with them and different things of that nature. But now that we're going back, what policies or what things could you all speak to that they're putting in place? Or what do you think, when we talk about mental health, it's already a challenge in our Black and brown community to go get those services, right? And now that we bring our kids back to school, there's been so many things, especially for our older kids that's in the middle school, high school, so much social media stuff going on. There's a lot of tensions and things happening. But from a mental health standpoint, how do we get those services to our young people and to the community parents transitioning back to school to help them walk through it? And how much of those services are really available?
For our youngest learners in early ed, we partner with DPH. So we have an early childhood mental health. We have an early childhood mental health consultation contract with the Department of Public Health. So for all our pre-K and transitional kindergarten classrooms, we have mental health consultation in addition to school social workers. For the other older children, we have school social workers on site where they're able to provide like some support and counseling like that. The children are referred by teachers, but also they are able to say like, I want to speak with a counselor. We have connections and linkage to community partners and resources that provide mental health services. A lot of our support is tiered because we know what mental health, there is no one size fit all way to do it. So some children and families may need some supports that are, not as intense, or some kids may need the frequency and the intensity to be at a more rapid rate or more intense way to provide them with the support they need to address individual needs. And I think that's important. The way we should look at mental health is there's not one fit diagnosis, intervention, strategy, or support for all kids. So really tailoring it, knowing what we are able to provide within the school district, whether it's direct support through counseling for our social workers and counseling for our older kids, early childhood mental health consultation for our younger children, or if it is referring out to our community partners for intensive therapy, family therapy, things that way, so children and families can get exactly what they need to be successful in the school community and at their homes.
All right, phenomenal information. Sorry to put you on the spot, but we do have a comment in there from one of the viewers out there. Maybe you could do some right here on the spot. See, this is mental health services right here, coping and identifying some of those symptoms. Somebody's asking about how do you identify depression, anxiety? What symptoms do we look for possible depression or anxiety related to returning to preschool? Is there anything you could talk to that?
Yes, well, I don't know if you guys can look at me, but I am a person with anxiety. I am a therapist who was in therapy with my therapist for a year. So mental health doesn't have one way or look. I often make reference to my family and friends in settings that the DSM-5 with all the mental health disorders. At any one point in time, all of us can be in there, right? However, with symptoms, they need to be present for a minimum of 2 weeks consistently. For some people, anxiety can be difficulty sleeping, difficulty concentrating, loss of appetite, increase in weight, loss in weight. Anxiety and depression symptoms can also seem similar. Isolation, again, difficulty concentrating. So again, it's not any one size fit all for either anxiety, depression, or any mental health diagnoses. Again, it's really seeing how your individual child or you as the adult or caregiver, how is these symptoms impacting your functioning? And then also reaching out to your pediatrician for your children or your primary care physician to let them know some of the symptoms you're exhibiting and tell them how long you've been exhibiting. Often, people are like, I'm depressed, when it's like there's some sadness. Sometimes things happen and you're sad. That's different from what chronic depression may look like. And then a lot of times, with the mental health field or people experiencing mental health needs, we just function, we operate. You can be functioning, going to work every day and be depressed. So really paying attention to if it's for yourself, your body, your physiological needs, and your alignment and everything is off, talking to a mental health professional or your primary care physician, and then for your children, speaking with a pediatrician on what you're seeing. It was mentioned earlier, I think it was Brittany who mentioned earlier, that really honoring that parents are the first teacher. So you guys know when things are starting to look off with your child or they may need some different type of support, being able to communicate that to a pediatrician or a mental health professional.
Wow, that was great. I'm glad you presented it like that. Community, go see a professional. Sometimes in our community, we want to be our own doctors. Go see the professional help. We don't want people out here self-diagnosing themselves, trying to be the doctor. Go get help. Reach out to a professional. There's information going up on the screen for the Department of Public Health, and you could go out there and find some health providers. We have Miss Brittany here, who's with Wise Health. She can speak to some of the health stuff. But I want to get the other parents engaged as we continue the conversation. I think that was just a great part. But I want to hear from Brother Robinson about, have he seen any challenges with the young babies for mental health, or just any signs that they've seen during this Zoom schooling?
Yeah, so for us, we have a couple children, 5 to be exact. Our oldest, one of the benefits of him, he actually worked through it. He's with the Boys and Girls Club in the Bayview, working with the young children. So I think it kind of kept him occupied and busy throughout the whole pandemic. So he put a lot of his focus working with the children. So I think that kind of helped him mentally. But for our little ones, they didn't really suffer from anxiety, but they did have that detachment from their friends where they needed their interaction, like being at home doing Zoom for those several hours a day. It didn't work for them. Like they couldn't focus. They wanted to do other things. They wanted to be active. And by us working throughout the whole day, my wife working from home, me actually a essential worker working in several different stores of mine, we didn't have that quality time we could have actually spent with them. And plus they didn't want to spend with their parents. They wanted to be around their friends. So for us, it's we kind of seen it from both sides. The little ones, our older children, and I think our older daughter, for her spending her last year of high school, had to graduate via Zoom. It wasn't a good thing. She didn't appreciate that at all.
And her first year at Howard University, being spent at home during the pandemic, definitely for sure.
Via
took
Zoom.
a toll at her.
Yeah. So for us, we seen from our adult children to our young children, it affected them differently. But like my 2 young ones, their after school program provided all day care when everything opened back up. So that helped out a lot. They had the opportunity to spend time with their friends and some of their classmates, but they still did Zoom at the after school program. And when I asked my second grader, do you want to go back to school or do you want to continue to social distance? She said, no, I want to go back to school. I want to be with my friends. I do not want to do the computer no more. They can have the computer back. So for us, having that faith that the school district going to do what they need to do, keep the kids safe, which is great. And like for us, we work with the public too, so not only fearing the school district, but I'm around people all day. So I had to keep my mask on, both of us are vaccinated, but still got to be, protective. Like you say, your grandchild is asthmatic. I'm asthmatic, so we have those fears that I don't want to bring anything home for them, and I want them to come back home from, their schools.
And to speak to, with 5, you get a whole bunch of different things. We had one who was powering through it though. Like online is the way for her. If she could do school online every day, if that worked for her, and she could see her friends for a few hours a day, come home, recharge, and get her work done, it was the best place for her. She is our baby that has a IEP, an individual educational plan that supports her learning and academic understanding. And I think what facilitated her doing so well online was that she was able to get that exact help that she needed without fear of her peers seeing that she needed as a high schooler. And so that was super. We just seen a variety of different needs from all of our kids. And at one point in time, all of us in the house was in a funk. Everybody had an attitude up in this camp because we was all stuck together. And there was a pandemic and we all were suffering from something. So it's definitely real. And I want to put that out there too, like Crystal said, families, y'all know y'all kids better than anything. If something is off, something is off. Like you know your baby. And so while we have all these clinical definitions and these ways and these signs and everything, I know when something is wrong with one of my kids, and you trust your intuition because that's it. Trust that sixth sense and follow along with that, and don't let anyone tell you anything different. Always push through on that because you know your baby the best.
And hold on, before you, and our middle child, she went from having struggles in school during a pandemic. She averaged a 3.5 GPA. So it worked for her.
Wow, I think
sorry, John. I just want to say my daughter too. My daughter has a 504 plan for social anxiety, and distance learning worked for her too because she was able to attend to her learning and without the anxiety from other folks or feeling that fear of having to be put on the spot or for raising her hand. And she thrived. And I know that is a privilege, and it's unique to not, it's not every family, but it worked for us. And she was able to get a 4.0. She's always had really good grades, but this year she was kicking a 4.0 the entire year. But it was because she was in a place that felt safe. And so one of the things that we're going to be advocating for when we go back is whatever our learnings were, we got some learnings from this pandemic that we're going to make sure that the school is adhering to some of those. And so whether it is giving her a safe space in school where she can go where it's quiet to do some of her studying, or whether she can be able, how does she advocate for herself without having to raise her hand in that moment and ask for the kind of support that she needs. We want her to be able to advocate for herself that way, but we also have to do what works for her. So that's a part of the advocacy that I'm taking back when she goes back to school, to make sure that they're going to do some of those things that worked for her during the pandemic.
And just to piggyback off of what Letitia and Marisha and Ray both said, with the pandemic, and me being at home and me having to play teacher, I was able to recognize that my daughter was doing a lot of guessing. So with her doing a lot of guessing, now when she goes back to school, I'll be able to point out to the teachers like, hey, she needs more assistance. What tools can we provide her to make sure that she's all right with progressing in school when she's not continuing to struggle? Because in the classroom setting, it's easy for her to get overlooked or for her not to be seen because, you have to raise your hand. If she's not raising her hand, she's just continuing to skate through school. And now that I am aware of that, that is something that I will definitely be paying more attention to as she goes back to school.
That's great information. And thank you all for being transparent. This is both sides of the conversation, so we need to hear kind of both sides. And to the Robinsons, I got to give it to y'all, having that many kids and being able to deal with that is very powerful. I only had one, and I mean, if I had to deal with if I had that many, I wouldn't be able to deal with it. And to hear Marisha say she was there, I got a grandbaby. Let me tell you, after a couple of days, I was ready for her to go. Some days she was too much. I said, please get her back to school so she can interact with some of the kids. But I think that is very important that you all, spoke to that. And I just want to ask you all, how do you all feel about a hybrid model? I mean, when you have a family like the Robinsons where they do have, multiple children who learn at different capacity, I mean, is the school district looking at that? Because maybe this model of for some kids actually work and some don't. Is that on the table, and then also just talking about if we do get to a point where the Delta virus spreads more, how have the school districts, prepared themselves to get ready for if we do have to go back to a full closure? How does that look like? I know there was a lot of things that we did learn, but did we actually learn from them and implement them, or did we just learn them and just put them to the side and say we know it's there? Because that's my concern. Like, seeing some of these school districts already being impacted, and if they have to go back to full learning from Zoom and things of that nature, have they really put the right things to implement with hotspots? I mean, here in San Francisco, D10, there was a lot of issues with Wi-Fi connectivity. A lot of parents reached out to us and said, they felt like their kids were behind even more. When we know a lot of times when we come into these statistic and data numbers, the Black and brown community is always impacted on an educational realm, as they say. But I did hear from a lot of the young people that we had on our show this year, and a lot of them said they felt like they didn't learn anything. They felt like they couldn't connect with their counselors. A lot of them felt like they couldn't get the help that they needed. So what did we learn, or if we learned anything, how are we getting prepared? And, just that hybrid model for the parents. What do you all think about that?
For me personally, being an essential worker, and having to rely on my child, my youngest one, going to someone to help him with actually navigating the computer, it was hard for me. He went to his nana, who is a senior citizen, who doesn't have Wi-Fi, who is not doesn't know anything about electronics. That was definitely a challenge. He missed out on a lot, and with him getting ready to go to kindergarten. For my situation, it would not work unless I was able to bring him to a hub or bring him somewhere. Because as an essential worker, I have to go to work every day. So not having the support at home, it definitely makes it more difficult and more challenging for my household.
So, Ms. Dunn, real quick before I pass it on, did you feel, I know there was a number of those community hubs that were helping the young people. Did you feel like those hubs did a phenomenal job in helping navigate your young person, or no?
My son was not able to go to a hub because he's only 3. So, that the age requirement is definitely an issue for people who have younger kids. So if you don't have that assistance at home, then it is going to continue to be an ongoing issue. So you have to have somebody to actually help your kids to log on, to be able to navigate the computer and the different screens in order to be able to have that screen time with your child.
John, can I jump in real quick just to piggyback off of that? The fact that the city closed down and the school district closed down, and then people were pushing for the school district to open, but the city wasn't open. They forgot about our youngest learners, the youngest babies, because it was no way that somebody who had to return back to work had care or for their baby once the district reopened and the city decided, oh, we're going to open some things. So all of us that had to go back to work and return to work full time, those programs and services that were available to us pre-pandemic were not available to us when they were mandating us to come back into work. And for me, I work for the district. So when the district opened, the city was not fully open, and it was really hard, like Sienna said, to place. And I say that to say that the county and the city and the district, we got to get on the same page. Like, those resources, those ideas, those thoughts, and problem solving, everything needs to be in true alignment in order to make it successful for everyone. It can't be like a finger pointing game. We all have to be in alignment, because and our privilege is speaking a little bit, but as a family, we surely felt neglected by the people we pay taxes to. We was like, how y'all expect us to function? And we like, well, I can't work. We can't work. We can't do nothing. And we don't have care for our kids. It was super hard.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. And I've been on those calls advocating and fighting. Definitely, we have to do a better job as community and our elected officials when it comes to the educational process. And I hope this pandemic did teach, not only here in San Francisco, but across California, across this country, the importance of working together, and being ready for disasters. I had a big a spat about emergency management and things of that nature, because I felt like, during this pandemic, we wasn't ready, and how ready are we if we have a major earthquake or any other national disaster that can impact our young people? So I'm hoping that our elected officials and our leaders on these boards really start thinking and using these resources and funds that they have to be ready, that they took a lesson note from all of this and ready to prepare our community with hotspots, computers, things of that nature, nature, and also these hubs, and using these nonprofits and other community-led organizations to help support the efforts. But there is still a lot of work, and we're not out of this yet. So I'm really, really paying attention to see, how this thing is going to go moving forward. But it'll be a month by month day thing. But definitely want to make sure all the community is involved, and making sure that our voices is heard. And a lot of it, especially in the Black and brown community. And I was going to get to that about APAC and how do we start getting more of our Black and brown parents involved a little bit more, because a lot of times our voices are not being heard. And I'm in these meetings, and in the Asian community, other communities, they're stepping up, speaking on behalf of their community. They're getting the support. A lot of those communities in those different parts of the city had all of the Wi-Fi, had access. The private schools were still up and running, while our babies in D10, D11, D6 were still home suffering, didn't have that access. So definitely, that's a continued fight effort that we're going to have to do as community. But I definitely want to make sure that our community gets involved with this educational process, because it's very, very important. And I was, exposed to a lot of information that I just, was kind of out of touch. My granddaughter, a little different situation. But, when I was raising my daughter, I was very involved with, the PTAs and different things of that. But I think we really got to start advocating more to get our community parents involved, because it's a lot of decisions being made that really impact our kids in these different districts, where other districts, everything moved as smoothly as possible. But Miss Tony, I know you were trying to talk. Go ahead, jump in there, Miss Tony.
Okay, let me check. Okay, so what I was going to say was about the mental health, but it still ties into the hybrid. For me, the hubs in the community, I felt it was safer. My daughter felt it was like a smaller place where she could learn quietly. So not only just for mental health and safety, but the community hubs often knew the children. They might have known them since kindergarten. They might have been 12th graders. So it's like extended family. So I feel like if you do the hybrid, to try to get more community-based people to be part of it. And even, I know y'all know somewhat about Mega Black SF. They have like a mental health group, education group, and even the education group, they've done things during the pandemic to focus on mental health. So it's a lot of people in the community. We just have to spread and let people know more about it, because if you don't know about the organizations, that's not helpful. So we just have to spread the word, person to person, family to family, about what the community can do for the community. Because I understand the city and county, or even the city and county, or even, I'm sorry, y'all, we have middle New Orleans, but the city and county and the school district have to deal with so many students, thousands and thousands, where a community-based organization may only have to support 20, 30 at the most, because they did have to have smaller numbers. And then I'll just speak, I know a lot of people on here, but I know Ms. Robinson personally was kicking her butt to make sure the babies that she was working with, and probably others, were okay. So you have committed individuals who've been working with these students. When she was with Harvard, I mean, she was picking up turkeys for the family. She was picking up books for the family. So, and I'm saying she's an unsung hero, but I'm saying there's a lot of people doing that, taking care of like 30 different families, or maybe 40 different families. And we just got to spread that out and normalize it, because even though the pandemic was bad, and I know it's hard for people with younger students, our community stepped up for itself. I saw it with many people. Letitia's still stepping up with me now, sending me texts to help my baby as she starts her college career. So we got to just get back to helping each other.
Great information, Miss Tony. We love you. Great chair. Activist doing your thing. We always appreciate you. Y'all can't get no realer than that on both sides of conversation. She live in New Orleans in the streets with it. You know what I mean? Can't get no realer than that. We ain't CNN. We for our people. We for the community. And we're going to continue to do our job here at both sides of conversation as we continue to help change the narrative, get the information out to the community. This is what this platform is about, bringing those resources here, getting them out to all of our community people. And we're going to continue to do our part, but it's very important for us community to get involved. We got the Mega Black information in there. There's a lot of organizations across the city that are doing things across the Bay Area, and we just got to get involved. And we're just one of the hubs. We're going to continue to share that information out to the other hubs, working together collaboratively to make sure that our community get the information and the resources. And that's our main focus here at both sides of the conversation, is to get that information out to the community. So, very, very important stuff. Just Tony might keep going. Keep moving on this. But the one of the family members, and I hope some of the parents can speak to this, are Crystal, because I guess this mother really wants this information, or father, I can't see who it is, but she is saying that her child is embarrassed to go back to school. How do we help calm her fears? We don't know if it's educationally or whatever it is, but what advice you all could give to this mom to talk to her child that's having these fears and anxiety of going back to school? So if anybody could speak to that to kind of help her out, I think that'll be a great service to the sister.
I think Crystal will probably have a much more articulate answer, but as a parent of a child who has some anxiety, it's all about conversation. And so asking her why, what is she embarrassed of? What does that embarrassment look like? What does it feel like? Like, get her to start describing it and talking about it. Ask your daughter what she needs, what resources or behaviors from the adults in her life or the adults in her school would help relieve that worry. Like, our kids are brilliant and they can tell us. They just might not be able to tell us in the same terms that we would use this academic language, but our babies can tell us exactly what they're feeling. And I think it's all conversation. And then when you get that information, then what are you doing to advocate? So once your child tells you what adults can do to support her, what you can do to support her, or she can start describing using those descriptive words. And then it's our job to go to the school and say, look, this is what my baby's feeling like. These are the ways that I think, that, because my child's an expert in her own self. These are the things that we need you to start adhering to. We need you to implement in your classroom. We need you to start supporting to relieve some of that embarrassment. I mean, I think that this is a little bit of a segue, and I do want to hear what Crystal has to say, and even Rionda, who has babies from different places, different age groups. But it's hard for adults to have this emotional language as well, right? Like, when we talk about going through a pandemic and what it was like to be at home, and Crystal was talking about Department of Public Health working and providing services. It's hard to access services. You have to get on lists. You have to make sure your insurance covers it. And then you have to wait for a therapist to get the right therapist. And maybe that isn't the right therapist, but there's things that we can just start doing at home. And it just starts with conversation, having these conversations about feelings, because I'm not sure, I know this is not everybody's household, but when I was growing up, I didn't really have a place for feelings, right? I'd get all sad and say I didn't want to go to school because something was going on. And it was like, get your butt to school, or what are you crying for? Or stop crying, or, you putting too much on it. When if somebody would have just talked me through it and given me those resources, then maybe I'd be an adult that can be able to advocate for myself and then be there for my daughter. So it's things I've had to learn and teach myself, but it was through conversation, somebody talking to our kids. And so I would encourage you to keep having those conversations. I know that you're doing that because every parent does, but having conversations and helping them with the vocabulary to use descriptive words to say what it feels like on the inside. What does it look like when someone supports them on the outside?
So are you all doing that with APAC? Because I've been asking that in a lot of these community meetings. How do we get a parenting guide for our Black and Brown community? How do we get this mental health conversation in our families? Because even me as a young father, I didn't have the book on how to be a great parent. I just went through it, learned from my mistakes, right? But how do we take these mistakes that we learn from as adults and put this into a curriculum to help our younger families? Because a lot of times this information is not there. And some of these young parents, they don't know how to get the resources or navigate. So how do we, through APAC or one of the organizations, put that curriculum, and all of the mothers and fathers on here could give that experience to that young family or to that young mom or young dad out there that's trying to raise their kids that didn't get those tools to put into the toolbox?
Sure, an APAC leader can also, well, the only thing I'll say is we haven't done that. We haven't talked about a curriculum, but one of the things we have done was share those resources. And so what went across the screen was some self-care resources for African-American families. So these were things you could do at home with music. Those were things that you could do in terms of just walking and breathing. And so APAC was really intent during this pandemic of sending things out monthly to our families, tips and tools on just how to be, because we're so busy trying to change the world and so busy trying to be somebody else's advocate, and who's our advocate. So learn how to advocate for ourselves and making sure we take care of ourselves. So we put those resources out. We'll continue to put them out, but I think that's a fantastic idea. And I'd be interested in seeing if the APAC leadership team that's something that they want to pilot.
And I just want you to know I wasn't taking a shot at APAC, but there are a lot of resources that's coming to community, and what a way for APAC to take the lead on providing curriculum for community. I think that'd be a dope thing. That's all. I just want to throw it. That's not a shot at y'all.
I have a question about the resources. What sort of resources popped up over the past year that weren't already provided? I know that you all spoke about, like, having your children at home and you starting to learn more about your children and seeing that there's specific needs that they need for the school. So what sort of resources or what sort of needs popped up over the past year that are new things, like new resources that you've added to your manual, or resources that have popped up?
I think not in the realm necessarily of social emotional. Tony, mute for me real quick. What did pop up is and I think we'll go back to social emotional because Tony will probably speak on that. What did pop up though was this need of technology and learning how to use technology. And I want to say that APAC, from the moment the pandemic struck, we went through. We was the first to be on Zoom. Y'all put that in y'all books. We did it from the moment the pandemic struck. We were on Zoom, and we were getting our families on Zoom, and we were getting our grandmas and our aunties and our uncles and our cousins. Like, we were getting people on Zoom and getting them to understand how to navigate Zoom and how to use a Zoom platform as an advocacy tool, and how to attend other meetings. And just that practice of us being there monthly for our families, I think definitely supported them through the pandemic, because everything was on Zoom and everything was based in technology. And for me, I think that was a helpful resource. While no, it did not really attend to the social emotional needs. What it did though is provide access for some of our families who were capable of using it for what they needed. And APAC we really did that. We hosted, outside of what the district was doing, we hosted our own separate Zooms and conversations online just for our families, because navigating the platform itself is such a challenge, and then getting your voice to be on the platform as well is another challenge, and that's really compounded and hard. So I just want to say that, name that as one of the resources, is that technical side of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. As community, we have to definitely do a better job with this digital divide. There was definitely a big gap when it came to digital equity. And I'm hoping that the school district is going to do their part to really put up those workshops for parents, and as well as our community organizations. I've been out into some of the senior homes. They have the laptops and the equipment, but they don't know how to necessarily navigate the internet and these different platforms. So definitely, I'm just hoping in the future we can do a better job as community, as well as the schools and school districts, to do a better job of putting on educational resources and hubs for the people when it comes to this technology. And I know a lot of times the elders in the community are just stuck in their ways and they don't want to learn, but we are moving into a digital age, and we have to bring those resources and education to our community. And we'll keep doing that here too at both sides of the conversation. We're trying to put together some step-by-steps, how to navigate, the websites and the different social medias and things of that nature. I'm working with some people now, but I think we got to do a little bit better job. I know a lot of parents was just not up to the task, and a lot of the grandmothers and grandfathers of the community that was watching the kids was definitely struggling and having problems with it. So definitely I'm advocating for that type of funding, and hopefully APAC and the school district can continue to do that and take some of that education and training to the community, to our community parents, because it's still a very great gap in the digital communication age. So that's pretty cool that you all were able to do that.
What other things came up?
I haven't.
Who was trying to jump in there? Go ahead, Ms. Robinson. Was that Rhonda? Was that you?
Yeah, it was. Sorry, I was trying to, and then the baby, he likes to talk at the same time as me because he was born on Zoom and has been on Zoom his whole little life. But for me, I think with social and emotional support, it was a lot different and more challenging because I do have a baby who was navigating his senior year of high school in Wyoming. And then, I have my daughter here who's in high school here. And so it's just staying in constant communication with them, giving them constant support and love. And then my older son, he's an essential worker. So it's giving him that support. It's really just being open and honest with the kids, and allowing them to feel whatever they're feeling, right? Because our babies have a range of emotions and sometimes they don't even know what they're feeling. But just giving them that space and the opportunity to just talk, even and sometimes it's not even about school. Just talk about whatever, but giving each one that individual space to be able to express themselves and to try and, get what they're feeling from what they're saying and then offer supports that way has been huge for me. And, I'm still doing it. And then I have this little one who can't talk at all. And now, he's trying to navigate his feelings too. So it's possible. You just have to be very, very patient, and understand that as adults, we may not even know, what we're feeling sometimes. And so to have that expectation for the baby to know, it's unrealistic, right? We just have to be very, very patient and open and just always, be willing to communicate with them and giving them that space, whatever it looks like. I'm the hip hop mom, right? The trap queen, because that's what my babies like. So I like what they like. Being open with that, don't expect them to want to listen to R&B and jazz. They're not going to feel you on that. But whatever they're listening to, if it's not too to the left, I got you. I can't drop it low like I used to after the C-section, but I can still rock with you a little bit. I can do a little bit with you.
Now we don't want you dropping it like it's hot. Please don't drop it like it's hot. But
no, the hot girl summer is canceled. It was canceled.
This is the first time we had an infant on our show. The youngest we had is 4 years old on our show. So, young brother, you want to tell the people something? You want to tell us something? Because I see you back there trying to say something. How you feeling today? Tell us something.
Hi. Now you put him on the spot. He's not gonna talk now.
All right, we'll get back to you later. All right. Ms. Crystal, did you want to jump in there? I know it was a couple questions at you. Did you want to jump in there real quick?
Sure. I did. So my program, as I mentioned earlier, provides support for our youngest learner with building that emotional vocabulary. I often talk about growing up in South Central LA with a single mother, or a single working mother. My 4 brothers and I, we were only able to be happy. She's getting up, going to work. What you mad for? So, and that, had did some things to myself, about building that emotional vocabulary, having that emotional safety. So for our youngest learners, letting them know you have agency over your body, you have choice, and there's an array of emotions and you feel things. So providing them with the language to what is it like to feel frustrated? You can be mad. It's not okay to be mean. So providing them with the language and then also some strategies they can use when they're upset. And part of that through our program, we were in person. We created a whole new program out of need. COVID-19 turned a lot of San Francisco homes and homes across the country into classrooms. So knowing that we were not going to serve our children in the traditional classroom setting for however long, my team and I started just giving our materials away to the families we serve, any pre-K through first grade families that needed a desk or sensory items, anything like that, social feelings chart, different type of resources to create these nurturing learning environments in the home that will sustain past distance learning. For a lot of the older kids, the shift may have been, they had more understanding of the shift, oh, I need to log on and do school at home. But for our younger learners, it's hard to differentiate. It's no, I go to school and I sit in circle time and I play with my friends and I count and I write. And then I go home and I watch TV and I eat and I play, I read books, I do things that way. Really understanding that we have to make these environments in the home in a way where the kids can know, oh, now when I log onto the computer, I'm at school. So we provided families with desks, chairs, just different activities so that kids can get what we call the wiggles out, breathing balls, all type of calming strategies, mindful strategies, tools and resources and support. And we even created a YouTube channel. So after we provided families with the individualized kits based on their child's needs, that they were able, if they didn't want to keep calling or reaching out to us, they can go on our YouTube channel and watch how to use the materials. So that program we created through Shoestrings was called our Bridges to Learning program, where we were creating like DIY learning environments for each individual home. And my team and I, if you didn't want to meet us at the school, we would definitely deliver it to your house. It was based on your comfort level. So that was one way we had to pivot in doing the work. I am excited to say that starting in June, we were able to go back to serving our children in our social and emotional program for 10 weeks. Like I mentioned, tomorrow is the 10th and final week of this cohort, and our kids will graduate on Wednesday. What's come up for a lot of families is that when they went out of school, it was from March until March 2020 until April 2021. And then we brought kids back for 6 weeks. I don't know what the expectation was for our babies being back for just 6 weeks, but it was a lot of learning or reteaching or how to be in these shared spaces together with your friends, the materials. You don't get to just pass crayons anymore. You have your own crayons. And then coming back for those 6 weeks were for some children their first time in school. So just how do you do school at school that's not school at home? So really being understanding in a way that we were teaching. And when I say social and emotional, I'm not saying diagnoses. I think often terms are just thrown around like, oh yeah, that kid got social and emotional needs. When I say social, I'm saying how children are interacting with their peers, their environment, and their teachers, how they're taking turns, how they're sharing, asking for what they need. And that emotional piece is understanding that I have some big feelings right now, and I may be able to tell you what's caused me to feel that way. And then if I don't have the words, I need the support of an adult in the room to be patient with me to understand, like, okay, I'm frustrated because I'm used to being at home with my caregiver or my parents. And now I'm at school, they just drop, and they can't even come into the school to drop me off. So as Letitia mentioned earlier, just really having conversations. When you were speaking, Tisha, I was like, okay, honorary therapist, because that's exactly what I was going to say. Talk to the babies. I think we take for granted that kids don't know why. Sometimes they may not know why. And regardless of how articulated, as an adult, I'm friends with, some folks on the call. As an adult, no matter how well I'm able to tell you what I'm thinking and feeling, you still don't know what that thought sounds like in my head, what that feeling is like in my body. So really talking to your children to see, tell me what's going on. So when we go back to school, as your parent or caregiver, I can advocate for exactly what you need. Because no two children, I don't care if they're identical twins, no two children are the same.
I think I need some of those services. I thought I knew, but I think I need some support there. I don't know what I'm feeling right now, but I think the conversation is definitely going good. A couple of questions that the community had out there. What do you all as parents need from the teachers this year as you transition the kids back? What are you expecting or looking for the teachers and the staff to make sure that your kids have a successful year? And what advice could you all give to other parents out there to get them motivated to be involved, so that they can be a part of the process during this year? So if anybody want to jump to that, we could jump to that and we can keep moving along.
I'll start. For the teachers, they just have to, really, parents, teachers, students, everybody, realize this COVID thing is an elephant. You got to get it one bite at a time. You can't just try to do everything. For parents, I just wanted to pivot a little bit. It's really got to be about self-care. We have to model self-care, because in the beginning I was super anxious and my daughter was anxious. So I had to get grounded. Self-care, it got to the point where I was teaching other people self-care online, on the phone, in person, because if you don't take care of your mental health, if you don't take care of your physical health, your spiritual health, all that, it's not gonna work. And also basic needs. One thing we have to make sure, I'm talking about for teachers now, before you start trying to make sure the child can learn, make sure they have basic needs and have some crackers, have some fruit, have something in your classroom. Because I don't know if it's going to be self-contained. I don't know if they're going to the cafeteria. I don't know what it's going to look like. But you make sure you have something. Have a book, have a book club. Send books home with the students. One thing during the pandemic, besides being learning more about self-care for myself and helping others, I made sure as many people as I knew would have books that for the Black kids that reflected them. So I was on a mission to do that. I have a van. I didn't have a van before. I got a van that was just stuffed with books that I collected. Letitia helped, the library helped, Marisha helped, a lot of people helped, Latoya helped. We made sure that students have books. So for the teachers, make sure they have something to take home with them. Give them a glue stick, give them their crayons. With these backpack giveaways, teachers, go get about 10 extra ones and make sure you have them. You can send it with the students. And I know there are some schools that have like food pantries. This is something I'm gonna bring up. I hate to bring it up, but the Latino community, I've seen some awesome, not hate to bring it up, we could use this, where they can just roll up and get the diapers and the school supplies and the household supplies. This is right there on Evans. I don't see that in my community for Black folk. So we need to step it up and take care of basic needs, mental health, and kind of triage, because all of us can't do everything, but all of us can do something.
Yeah, definitely. And before the next person go, I want to throw this in there too, and this is a little curveball, but how are you all feeling as parents, right? Because this COVID, how do we deal with these teachers when your kid come to school and might have a little cough or a little cold, and the teachers are like, they don't want to be around them. And like, have you all thought about that? Like how these teachers are going to be dealing with our young people? Some kids, you already have a parent talking about her kids embarrassed. What happened if, somebody's talking about, oh, you might have COVID, and teachers might not want to be around the kids because they don't want to get infected and things of that nature. Like, have we all thought about that? Like, how's that going to play in the classroom, and how are we educating the staff, not putting everything on COVID, right? Because we know we're approaching the flu season, and, some people will just have the normal cold. And how do we work and educate our teachers as well? Like when they're dealing with kids who might have it, and not just saying, oh, you might have COVID, or not want to be around a kid in the classroom. A lot of times that impact the young people. So I was just thinking, how does the parents feel about that?
As a parent and as a public and somebody who works with the public, I think we just need to be realistic, because we go outside and we hear somebody cough or we see somebody sneeze and we're giving them the eye too, right? So I think that's just something that is, it's our new normal, and we need to adjust to it. So not take it so personally. And when it comes to the kids, recognizing who our kids are, right? So just to go back to the other question, like with my kids going back to school, or with my kids being at home with me, I had to learn about my kids. I learned who my kids were. I learned what their struggles were. I learned what their strengths were. And being at home, forcing me to be a teacher, allowed me to see that I didn't have the patience to be a teacher, and to be more appreciative of the teachers with schools opening back up. So if my kid has a sniffle, or if my kid has a cough, I'm going to be able to communicate with the teacher like, hey, they have a cough. It's not COVID. Hey, my daughter has a cough. She has asthma. Her inhaler is in her bag. So I think it's just opening up the lines of communication, and recognizing our kids and their strengths and their weaknesses, and being able to communicate with the teachers moving forward and help them with whatever they need to be helped with in order to help them succeed in the school year, because it's definitely going to be a challenging one with COVID and the lack of possible learning that they may have had from the Zoom classes. Because let's be real, most kids don't learn. Well, my kids didn't learn with Zoom because I don't have the patience to sit down there and teach them, because you have one kid in school and then I have a toddler running around driving me crazy. So trying to find that balance, and just making sure that they have the patience, or that we have the patience with not only the teachers, but with the schools as our kids return to school.
Letitia or Marisha, are there things in place for, the kids are going back to school, but if someone do get sick, is there like child care, or is there things in place? What about these parents? Like if we have a single parent who's working out there and a kid gets sick, before they would just keep them there. Is there anything in place for that or no?
Not to my knowledge. And I know a family, many of our families where either the child has a quarantine or the family has a quarantine because somebody was exposed. We talked about all the resources in our city that were supposedly going out, but there were no groceries when the entire household had to quarantine. Nobody was bringing groceries to that family. So how were they supposed to get food? And we had city systems that said they were doing this. So this is not a SFUSD issue, right? This is that was a city issue. And our city wasn't showing up for those families. They had protocols on what should happen. But what happens when everybody in a house is quarantined, or they tell you your child has to stay home and you need to make sure your child uses a separate restroom, right? But you only got one restroom in your house. And so how is that supposed to work? And so I don't think that there are enough resources. And no, not to my knowledge, there are no resources if your child comes down with COVID or if you have to quarantine. We think about our families. Some of us are very privileged where we can take sick days and take times off, but our families who are hourly wage workers, how are they supposed to do it? So that is something that, and I think it might've been Tony back when we were on a call and we were trying to think about how do we support each other during the pandemic and creating this community collaborative where community members can take care of one another and take care of people's children or bring food to somebody else's house. But it's something that we're going to have to do as community because our city failed. And I just want to be real about that because I knew too many families who had to quarantine and didn't get any resources at all. And then our school district is not equipped to do that. That's not something they're going to do is provide childcare when we have to send babies home.
Yeah, I just think even with the Children Council, I know during the pandemic, it was just difficult for families and people to get those type of childcare services, especially after hours. When we had the essential workers, nurses working after hours, wasn't able to get support for those single nurses. So I hope this is part of that model of trying to figure out what went wrong and how do we fix it and making sure not just the city, community, school district, how do we all collaboratively work together to make sure that everybody is supported? Because sometimes the school district has information that maybe the city doesn't have. The city sometimes have information that the school district has, and then sometimes the community gets none of it. So definitely that's just something that we need to really as community, as we, look at this, because I'm seeing something down the line that could really impact us. We already know if these numbers continue to climb, definitely our Black and brown community is going to be impacted the most. As people are trying to return back to work, there's a lot of advocacy going on right now to get people that time. Because like you said, if there is a single mom, which we know in our community, there's a lot of single moms or a lot of single dads that will be impacted. They're the only breadwinners. And how do we put those things in place if they do get quarantined for 14 days? We need the employers of this state, to make sure that these people get this time so they don't lose their pay. There's a lot of things with this pandemic that's going to impact us, but I'm just glad we're having that conversation. It's something to think about. And I'm glad you brought that up because, I'm on a lot of these calls advocating, talking to some of our city officials, and just need to make sure that people are, aware of this, because if these numbers keep spiking in the way that they're going, what happens to that single mom? What happens to that single dad? Or what happens to that family, like you said, who has to quarantine and the whole house quarantine? What kind of sick leave, what kind of, added COVID pay or things of that nature that we need to be talking about. And this is a very, very, important thing as we get close to this election or recall of Governor Newsom, making sure that these are all the things that we're thinking about when we're going into voting and things of that nature, because the next person in charge or whoever it is, these are the type of conversations that we want to make sure that they are definitely being aware of. And it's a concern of our community. So thank you for bringing that up. Sierra, you wanted to say something, or anybody else want to jump in there?
We'll jump in as the Robinson. So our oldest son, where he work at? Oh, he worked for the Boys and Girls Club. So he was an essential worker the whole time. When everything shut down, the Boys and Girls Clubs opened up and he was right there receiving the babies. And then our baby was in preschool. Both times the family has quarantined 14 days, 3 different times. All of us, 3 different times, 14 days, we have had to quarantine. And as Letitia spoke to it, this city for sure failed us. Like, we got one phone call and he was like, you
gotta come pick him up.
You got to pick the baby up. And then after we picked him up, they was like, you can't take the test this time. And then you got to take the test on this time. And then
on the 12th day.
Yeah, on the 12th day. And then didn't tell us where we could take the test or anything like that. They did not offer us no groceries. They didn't offer us no food. They didn't ask if we had to go to work. Like, so when she tells these stories, the stories are real. We lived that 3 different times. Matter of fact, I think by the 3rd time, nobody called us.
Right.
We didn't get a phone call. Yeah, he just got sent home. We didn't get a call from nobody. So I don't know if they contract traced that or not. But the story, I just want to say that those stories are legit for sure. And then the second thing is with Sienna and our baby, when she said, and our baby's going back to school and us just giving the schools a little bit of grace and compassion, I'm going to give the other side of that conversation. Because Zuri went to school and she didn't eat breakfast that morning. And so she had a belly ache and they was like, pick her up. That's a sign of COVID. And I was like, y'all gonna keep her? Because I'm not picking her up because she didn't eat breakfast. Y'all need to give her some crackers because I had to work. But just, yes, we will give our schools grace and compassion, but we will also know what our rights are. And we will also know where to push back on.
Oh, that's great.
Good points.
Yeah, no, that's great information. I'm glad, that you all are here to articulate that out to the community. A lot of our elected officials do watch these conversations. We do have some of the people from the school district watching and some other people. And this is great information. This is great dialogue. And these are the kind of things that we need to have because it's very, very important moving forward. As we know, this COVID thing is not going away no time soon. And it's just something that we really need to consider and think about. It's just real. Like, this is just real conversation about how people are affected. And I'm thinking more just hearing you all speak about that, like it's kind of like, how do we actually fix this, right? And make it sure. But I know the governor did sign a bill for about $100 million for food services to all the schools in California to make sure that our young people are getting meals. So if y'all could speak to that, is that happening? Do y'all hear anything? Because I know they said all kids were supposed to get free lunches or things of that nature. Is that already rolling out? Have they talked about it in y'all transitions, or is it still down the pipeline?
Kids will go back to school and all of our babies will eat for free. All school-age children will be eating for free. I think we have to, what I haven't heard about, which probably will come out, is, during the pandemic, SFUSD was able to provide food at several different sites for all family members with children 0 to 18. And so I don't know, or not 0, because those babies should be, whatever they're eating, their mama's nutrients. But the district was providing food. Right now, it's going to be all school-age children. There are some forms you all have to fill out. So we put that APAC newsletter in there. It links to the district's updates that tells you about the free meals. It links to the updates or the link that is asking you all to fill out this multi-purpose form. I'm going to mess the name up right now, but you should fill that form out because it's going to be helpful. Like a lot of our families got pandemic EBTs, right? You got this little card in the mail and it was just, go get food. Here go a couple $100 to do it. That comes when you fill out those forms. And so I know it's always putting people in our business, but that's sometimes how we get the resources for those who need it the most. Another resource is the city of San Francisco is helping families pay their rent. And so back rent and then your future rent. And so there's a California group, and I'll put those links in there as well so you all can broadcast them across the screen. But California is paying back rent. San Francisco is paying rent for the next couple of months. They just extended the eviction moratorium. So there are resources out there that's going to help alleviate some of the stress that's that's been put on our families because of the pandemic. That will hopefully help going back to school a little bit easier.
Great information. We have another comment from community. Do we know what protocols are in place for kids who will ride the school bus? Social distancing, cleaning, etc. If you guys can't speak to it, we'll try to reach out to the bus company. I forgot their name, but we'll reach out to them and have them try to come on and talk about the bus ride thing. I know the mayor put out there all of our young people will be able to ride Muni for free. As we approach back to school, I know anybody under 19 should be able to get on our Muni buses for free to navigate the city of San Francisco. I'm not sure what all the other city and counties are doing, but I know the MTA has been doing a phenomenal job of hiring more car cleaners and doing the things to disinfect the Muni and car trains. So I don't know, but if you all can speak to that about the schools, the buses, Are they going to be back in service? How many? Is there any changes to that? If you don't know, that's fine. We'll try to reach out to Laylaw or whatever it's called. I forgot the name.
No longer late law. My granny worked for late law. No more longer late law. And then we just changed it again. But I'm going to plug the APAC updates again because we get information from community. We get it from the school district, and we just put it back out there. So there are transportation updates. Even if you go to SFUSD's website and type in transportation, you can just link to it through the APAC's update and keep plugging that, but you don't have to. You can just go on the district and just search buzzwords, but the transportation schedules are up for each school. It is limited. It is for our babies that have the most need. So transportation will be limited. So if you want to know what's happening, check out the SFUSD bus schedules that are up there. We also would encourage you to make sure if your child has an individualized learning plan, that your child that you know what's going on, or sorry, an IEP, that you make sure that if you need transportation, you're advocating it for it now with the child's case manager. And then what was the other update? School times are changing. School times are either going to start at 7:50, 8:40, or at 9, I believe 9, I might be wrong. Check the updates, make sure you know what time your child's school is starting, because that's going to be a new change to SFUSD as well. So put the link in there, click on that link. It have a link to every single one of those resources you all are asking for.
And that's the www.ssmore.com, right?
That's just the platform we use. We use platforms to put out our newsletters. SFUSD also sends them out. And so I'm going to also put up, if you want to stay connected to the San Francisco Unified School District and get bi-weekly updates, they put out bi-weekly updates to families to your email. Some folks will get it via text messages. If you don't have your parent view up so that you can be getting all of the real-time stuff from your child's school, these are things our families need to know how to do to stay connected, because we do not want it to just because I didn't know. Right? There's no reason for you not to know. There's so many ways to be connected, whether it's going through APAC updates, which is trying to concise the information, or just staying in tune with SFUSD. So I'll put that link in there too to broadcast across the screen.
All right, Brittany, you got any other questions, Brittany? We're getting close to ending today's show. I want to be respectful to everybody's time. I know we said 4 o'clock, but we had so many announcements. It took us about 10 minutes to get started today. But I want to be respectful of everybody's time. But Brittany, did you have anything that you wanted to ask?
No, I don't have any other questions. I think that everyone has been very, very informative. And so I think when we go through and we do our last words, I'll give my recap. You know, my call to action for the community. I heard some really good nuggets with what everybody was saying today. So
definitely great. Yeah, the call to action is Black families matter. Black parents matter. We need support. We need everybody to get out there and support our Black families. To all of the employers out there, if you're hiring some of these families, don't just talk about we support our Black and brown community. Be a part of it. Be understanding. As somebody had put in the chat, some of these families are losing their jobs because of COVID and things of that nature. Please be understanding. Have that humility. Have that compassion and understanding. There are single parents, and sometimes they are the only breadwinners, and sometimes you have both families parties there that are impacted. So let's definitely, as community, support them. Be understanding as we're trying to get through these challenging times. There's a lot of work that needs to happen in our school districts. And there's some things happening, some things not happening, but it takes a community, it takes a village. We will continue to have these conversations and push things forward. And we would like to continue to spread the resources. So at any time you all get resources or information, please submit it to us so that we can get it out to community to make sure that our families are impacted. And sometimes, it is a disservice. A lot of people email us and they say, hey, these community organizations are not doing their part, or the city's not doing their part. And a lot of times it's just miscommunication. And we're just trying to be one of those hubs to help get that out to community. A lot of time there are resources and there are people that are doing some amazing things. And sometimes the just poor marketing and the messaging campaigns really don't make it to our community. So we're going to continue to do our part to make sure that we get that out to community. We'll be working close with Letitia and the rest of the crew, the APAC. Make sure that you guys have access to our platform anytime there's changes or updates during this year. If you all need to come back on, please, you all are welcome to come back on. But with that being said, as we are wrapping it out, I want to just go ahead and give everybody an opportunity to give out some closing words, some encouraging words to our parents, maybe to that young lady who's embarrassed to go back to school or scared to go back to school, or just whatever you all want to give back to community, those gems, those resources. Please do it now. We'll just move around the room. We can start with you, Crystal, and you could give your farewell to community and any resources or information that you want to give back to them.
Thank you. I'm just, so I'm here. I got a bunch of great letters behind my name, right? All this area of expertise. And guess what? I am not a parent. So I have been, I am so honored and grateful to be in this space with you all today, the parents, the real experts. So as we prepare to return to school, just knowing that you guys know your baby's best, and then knowing if you do need additional support and resources, that there are mental health professionals, medical professionals, and community resources out there to partner with you to making sure your baby has a great school year, socially, emotionally, and academically.
Wow, thank you. That's great information. And definitely, Crystal, we want to get you to come back on our hidden gem segment, or maybe you could do a PowerPoint presentation for community. A lot of times when we're talking about mental health, I'm in these meetings and I always hear them say there's not enough people who look like us or people of color culturally appropriated. And, there's so much money into mental health, and I know it's never enough, right? But I just really feel like a lot of the services that are being provided hasn't been really providing the level of services that we need to our community. So I definitely would like to utilize your resources and get it out to community, to have somebody that look like them, that they might be more comfortable. I got a brother out in Oakland, James Harrison. He's also a clinician that's doing great work. It seems like Oakland get all of the Black clinicians and mental health providers, and sometimes San Francisco, we don't get it. So I definitely want to connect you all services with community, because a lot of times, just having that person that look like us might be the opportunity to get somebody those services. So I definitely want to invite you back for one of our hidden gem segments, and maybe you could do some kind of mental health educational presentation to teach our community how to cope, how to deal with some of these issues of anxiety, depression, or just some of the things that our young people might deal with throughout the school year, to help our parents have some tools. So thank you very much. Stay connected with us. Go to our Both Sides of Conversation website and make sure that you schedule yourself to come back so that we can get you out there and get your information so that some of these families can use your resources. All right. So thank you very much. We're going to go to the phenomenal Robinsons. I just wanted to say, I thank you all, because you guys are definitely what we need to see. Black love, Black relationships, 5 kids. What a phenomenal job to be in partnership to raise our young Black babies. Just happy to have you all on today in your voice, and maybe we can squeeze y'all all to come in on this relationship talk. Maybe y'all can give us another side of the other perspective. Brother Robinson, I'm reaching out to you. I need some help, my brother. I need some help.
I would love it. You can get my information from the wife, but the Robinsons want to thank everybody on the call. Especially Rionda, Letitia, for being there for us throughout the whole entire pandemic. When they say it takes a community, it really does. Because like when we needed people to pick up our babies from school, those 2 ladies, they came through at a drop of a dime, whatever we needed them. Thank you for, allowing us to be on your platform. And if you need me for any other call, you got me.
What you say?
I was trying to let you give your farewell to the community.
Give my farewell community too. He summed it up. Thank you for allowing us to be on this platform. I'm excited that families got to hear the real and both sides of the conversation. This was our first time doing this, so we enjoyed it. And also be on the lookout for hearing my name and voice again as I go into the community to help redesign these zones and boundaries around school assignment. I'll be leading that work for the district. So I'm going to put my plug in there, because I'm going to be beating y'all doors down so y'all can get in there and get your voices heard. Thank you.
No, definitely. I know I was on a call with you the other day, but definitely any information, digital flyers, or if we have to show up to any kind of town halls, please get that information out to us so that we can get it out. Because a lot of times, even if it's not the people we're reaching, sometimes it's one of our partners. They'll share it too. And we're just trying to get this information. And we definitely want to get our community involved. So yeah, anything we could do, help you support your service. I mean, what you're doing and your efforts, we definitely going to be here to support you. And yeah, we're going to get your husband on here because I'm going to need some support. If I don't see no more brothers coming on for this conversation, because they're going to try to beat me up. I already know where it's coming. So I'm going to need some support. But, you know, I'll be reaching out to the brothers of the community. But thank you all for doing
John,
it.
can I get my last 2 cents? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
And also the African American Parent Advisory Council is looking for leaders, y'all. We can't do this work by ourselves. And although we did speak earlier about how we do our work and it supports the district, we have now been allocated some funds that will help us allow our expansion to reach across the city. And we don't turn nobody down. Y'all show up to a meeting, y'all family. Number one, first time there, you family. You got a Black baby, you family. You belong to us. So we want to help cultivate and build more leaders and get that advocacy out there and bring in those who are doing the work, but it's just not being shown, and help uplift them as well.
Now, can I give y'all something that I just want to say? And this is both sides of the conversation now. This is John Henry being just real, authentic, 100%, you know, because we keep it real here. We don't mess around. I love that our community shows up, right? But I want the real community. I don't want the people showing up to these events because we got food, right? So I've been advocating to a lot of my community organizations. Can we stop providing fried chicken and food for the community? Because I want the real people to show up. Because what happens is every time we hear is food, people just show up for food. But then when we really need them to boots on the ground, they don't show up, right? And I've seen it on different platforms. I'm not saying it's happening with y'all, but can we start promoting community unity without food? Because I want to see the real people show up.
We are going to feed our people because that's those basic necessities that she talked about. If I need to get to your heart, I need to feed your belly. So yes, and boots in the ground. So it's a yes and. It's not a no. It's a yes and.
All right. I just had to put that out there because sometimes my people, they just get it twisted. They only want to show up for the food and they're not engaged in what's really going on. And we got a movement out here, and it is definitely voices needed. And we need the love of the people to really be heard. So that was just my 2 cents. I had to say that because I'm just tired of everything tied to food. Oh, if we get the food, we get the people to come. And I'm just like, nah, I want the people that really want to do the work, really care about our babies, really care about the community. And sometimes it's only 3 or 4 people, but I'd rather take 3 or 4 loud voices than a bunch of side busters just side known trying to get a little bit of clout. You know what I mean? That's just all. That's just my 2 cents. But with that being said, go ahead, Miss Letitia, and give your last parting words to community.
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. I just also want to note, if you might see it come across the screen, we also have site-based APAC. So we have a general APAC, that's the district. If you are a family of a Black child, you are family, like Marisha said, you are automatically a member. There is no special sign up or requirement to become a member of APAC. But then we have site-based affinity groups, whether they're called APAC or the Black Family Affinity Group or whatever it is at your school. We ask you to go to your school sites and figure out where you can be in community. We know that having positive relationships with other people really changes outcomes. And so one of the parents that you see, she says, whoa, hold up. About APAC. She wants the food at the APAC. She says it's doing a good work. And so I wanted to shout out Carolyn, who's been a part of this conversation. Definitely should have been on the screen today. Really appreciate both sides of the conversation for continuously supporting us and making sure that our voices are heard. Shout out to these bomb parents who show up. When I tell you that these parents did not take a break, we were the first group that was up, ready to go. We took a month. We took March. So we can just plan. Come the next month, April, we were at it. And these families did not take a break. So shout out to the district APAC, shout out to the site-based affinity groups and all of the educators that make sure that these spaces exist for our families. I want to plug Crystal real quick. Crystal is a lot of things. Crystal is dope. She's dope in real life. And so she's going to come back to the website, but she's also an author, a co-author of a book. So Brown Girls, the Black Girl, Brown Girls books, she put it in there. Check Crystal out, purchase the book, support literacy in our homes with books that look like our babies. And then the last couple of things I wanted to say is to be kind to yourself. This isn't easy. It's our first pandemic. Be kind to others. figure out ways that you can just say thank you. You can smile, you can look at somebody in the eyes. We have to wear our masks so people can see your smile in your eyes. So smile at somebody, say hello, and be kind to yourself. I think that if we have more kindness in the world, things will move a little bit smoother. So with that deep appreciation, a small committed few, we are a small committed few group of people, but we need to grow. As Marisha said, you want to become an APAC member, email us your information. Go to APAC, so that's AAPAC at sfusd.edu and let us know that you want to be engaged.
All right, so I want to say one thing. I'm glad Crystal promoted her book, but she has to come back to our Hidden Gem business segment to promote her book before both sides of the conversation buys it. But I will put the information on the screen and get it out to the community that's watching on our YouTube and out there. And typically, we don't do that because typically we want our guests to come on here first and bless the community, and then we push it out and support the community. But today, since you've been so patient, so gracious today, we're going to put it on the screen. Community, go out there and buy the book. Don't just buy them all up. Save a few so when she come back on there, we can show that we support her. But we will support the book here at Both Sides of the Conversation. Any of our businesses that come on, we always support their products or their stuff, but they must come on first. I get a lot of these businesses, they're sending me instant messages, DMs. John, can you promote this flyer for me? I said, but I asked you to come on my show first. You got to come on, and then we support you. But we'll definitely get that out to community. Definitely, we want to make sure that our young people are reading books that are about us from our culture, because I think it is what's needed. And thank you, Ms. Irvin, for all you do for community and being an advocate for education and reading and literacy. And you and Ms. Davis, I'm always elated to be on calls with y'all because you are so passionate about our babies being educated. And I'm a big advocate as well, making sure that our kids read, learn. And I just appreciate all the work you do in the community, being at the events and supporting our young babies in the community. So thank you for all your efforts. We will continue to stand behind you. Anything you need from us here at Both Sides of the Conversation to get out to community, we'll definitely help in the marketing efforts to get that out to community, to support you all and what you're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to purchase a book for your grandbaby.
Oh, look at that. Okay. All right. I'll still buy one, Chris. I'll still buy one, Crystal. Okay. I won't just I'll still buy one and give it to one of our young people. I mentor the young people in juvenile hall. So I'll get a book to one of the young people up there so that they can read it too. But with that being said, Ms. Dunn, you want to go ahead and give your parting words to community and let them know how it's important you need the support and the things that you're doing before we leave out of here today?
I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I'm new to this platform. So it was definitely good to see a different perspective and see how Black families can engage and uplift each other in the community. I appreciate everybody on this call today and helping me open my eyes to the well-being and the health and safety that's needed for my kids. And that's it. I just want to just remember. I always remember what my grandma used to say: "Each one teach one." So this platform is an opportunity for us to teach each other. And to continue to learn and to grow. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's what we're trying to do here. Be intentional. We're getting the resources and information to our community. So everybody here today, people that's watching, please make sure you go to our YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on alert notification. We're doing some phenomenal things here. We in the community. We're feeding those in need. We're at the community events. We're hosting these 3 live shows a week where we're educating people, having these conversations, and highlighting our Black and brown businesses. So yeah, if you're not too familiar with us, please go to our YouTube, check out some of the previous shows we've had, some of the things that we've done in the community. We're getting a lot of more of that information and footage up there on our YouTube. Definitely connect. We're one of the community hub. This is a community platform. And that's why we have these Sunday conversations, is for community to engage and be involved and talk about the conversations that we typically don't have in our Black and brown communities, the taboo conversations, and sometimes those conversations that hold a little stigma. We will continue to have those here. Sometimes it gets ugly on this platform. I'm just going to keep it real. It ain't always sweet. We're not CNN. This is not the church. We will have both sides of the conversation, and sometimes it is triggering and people get upset. But we're going to continue to have those difficult conversations because we believe that through communication, a healing process begins, especially in our Black community, talking about some of the things that typically we don't talk about at the dinner table. So with that being said, Ms. Rhonda, you want to jump in there and say your parting words? And I hope the young brother ready to say something. He got to leave and say something tonight.
So he's done with us. He's officially on the floor crawling. He doesn't want to play with us anymore. He said he did his hour now, almost the whole 2 hours. That's it. He's done. But for me, I think it's just to remind the parents just to be kind, like it was already said, and just be very, very patient. You know, understanding that we're still navigating this pandemic. Things are going to be different. And it's going to be different for teachers, for students. It's going to be different for all of us, right? So just give yourself that space, and not have as high of expectations of expecting perfection, but just being in partnership, right? Being in partnership with your schools, with your teachers, and also having that open door communication so that if, say, for instance, the baby is sick or whatever, you know, you make sure that you let the teachers know that so you can put their mind at ease so they don't, you know, have to get on the defensive all the time. And just take care of ourselves. You know, that's all we can do as parents. And again, we're plugging for APAC for the parent leaders because we definitely need help. So you are very welcome. We definitely will put you to work because there is a lot of work to be done. Thank you.
All right, phenomenal information. Community out there watching, if you're one of those parents that want to be involved, go to the APAC, sign up. They need support. That's what it's all about. Too many times I hear people always trying to say, I don't know how to get involved. I don't know how to get volunteer. Here's an opportunity. Please go to the APAC website. We'll put it up there back on the screen. You guys can sign up and support their efforts to make sure our community babies, it takes a village, make sure that they get the support. And, you know, just happy to hear that you guys have space. So it's no excuse out there, community, get involved, especially our dads. You know, I'm happy to see Brother Robinson here, but where's my dads at? I ain't gonna call y'all on the carpet just yet, but we're gonna have a conversation about our community dads, how we need to be getting involved, how do we need to be supported. I see Miss Tony back. I gotta let Miss Tony say her parting words tonight. I know she's moving and traveling, but if Miss Tony, if you don't bring back more gators for me, we're gonna have problems.
So first of all, Mr. Hines is right here too. He's the daddy. You guys. Just the final words, I can really only echo what Rihanna said, is that be patient with ourselves, be patient with our students, be patient with our community, but we still have to have our standards. We still have to lift each other up because patience is not going to necessarily get your child into college. Patience is not necessarily going to get your child that job. So no matter what, we still have to set some goals. If we don't make them, that's okay too. But check on your mental health, check on your financial health. And there's a lot of help out there in San Francisco Bay Area because I'm down here in New Orleans. Trust me, I see the difference. There is a lot of help. Just dial 311, dial 511, get those 211, get those numbers down and help yourself, but also ask for help.
And I see Brother Hines jumped in at the last minute. He been high. See, I'm going to hold him accountable and make sure I get that gator. Y'all put in the freezer and get it back to me. You almost got away. I was going to get him. I'm going to hold both of y'all accountable for my gator. All right. I'm just acting up. We family in here. So I'm just being, you know, every time I go to New Orleans, I got to have some fried gator. So, you know, I'm just being family in here. With that being said, Miss Brittany, you want to go ahead and give your finale wrap up for the day? I know you so articulately document everything on every show and make sure you get the highlighted points. So what do you have for community today?
I just know, Miss Tony, please bring this man back some gator. He's been talking about this gator this entire show. Please bring him some gator back.
If I got to catch it myself.
Right. Lord. So I really enjoyed this show today. I just want to thank all the panelists for coming on and just being so open and candid with with your experiences and what the needs are, and then these wonderful services that APAC has been providing. I always, whenever we go through these shows, I like to listen and see what I can task to the community, anybody that's listening, so that we can continue to, you know, hold each other accountable and grow together and progress our community and, you know, advance health equity. That's what I'm all about. So just listening to the show today, I heard that there's a need for more platforms for self-expression for our youth, whether it's support groups or play therapies, but a platform for our youth that have been in the house for the past year and a half or that are transitioning back into school, somewhere where they can just, you know, talk and express themselves and, you know, be very open, you know, in times when they don't feel comfortable talking to their parents. Also, I heard that there's a need for more engagement of our Black parents. It sounds like there's a need, again, for more support groups, a platform for our parents to come to and learn from each other and, pass along resources and services. I'm hearing and experiencing a lot of families that have been needing help just navigating this entire experience, whether it's a single parent or both parents. Everything is new for everyone. So, every day is just a new challenge or a new journey. And then lastly, I hear loud and clear about the need for more quarantine resources, especially for our families that have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And we do understand how that is very hard. I know last year I got a quarantine program off the ground for UCSF. And so just, understanding and seeing firsthand the need for these resources, I know that, the city really has to step up to the plate for this because none of this is easy. And so that's really all that I have. And I just want to thank everyone. Again, this show was really informative. And I'll turn it back to you, John. Thanks.
Wow, thank you. Great information. Definitely, I just want to say thank you to all of the teachers and educators out there who definitely, put their lives on the line to go to work and do the things that they do for our young people. It's very important that we also, highlight our educators. And a lot of times they are underpaid, overworked, and underdeserved at times. I know this pandemic has taught a lot of our parents some of the things that these teachers deal with. And I'm just hoping that the appreciation level from all of our parents to our teacher increase, to all our paraprofessionals out there who sometimes don't get recognized. They are doing phenomenal things. And I just hope community, we have patience and compassion as well for our teachers. And I hope our teachers have compassion and understanding for community. I know this Zoom school over a year has taught our educators some things that are happening in our communities that sometimes they don't hear. I do have a number of educators who are friends, and to hear some of the stories, the things that goes on in homes that they didn't just really understand, and some of the disadvantages, and just some of the things that our young people deal in our community. Sometimes it's difficult on Zoom. It's been a lot of issues that people are just being brought to the front side, are seeing it firsthand. And, some of those things are very frustrating. It's sad that it happens, but we do have things that, impact our young people with their education. So again, as our young people come back into the schoolhouse, just hoping that these teachers work well with them, be patient, be understanding. It's an adjustment period. There's a lot of steps into getting everything back to normal as we still in the middle of a pandemic. So I'm just looking forward to following up with APAC, following up with the community families, as well as our educators in the future, just to kind of see how things is going so that we can report back to the community. And community, let's get out there and support our young people, our families, and let's work together to support each other to make sure that this village that we're talking about is there to really uplift our community in a positive way. Thank you to all of the elected officials who are listening, who are going to do their part to try to support the efforts to work collaboratively to make sure that the resources and the information gets to community, and make sure that they're open to the ideals and the things that are taking place to make sure that they can be effective as well. Thank you all for joining today, all the parents on here, just the Robinsons. I just have to highlight y'all, man. I'm just happy and elated to just be on here with you all, because I think sometimes in our community, the imagery is very important. And to see both you all sitting here for 2 hours when I know you could be watching preseason. We just had the nice Hall of Fame yesterday. Football season is back. But our Black dads do matter. And I just want to acknowledge you, brother, because a lot of times our Black fathers of the community sometimes don't get the level of appreciation and respect that they deserve as well. So I just want to highlight you and commend you for giving up time on the Sunday, my brother King. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know I'm all about King supporting kings and kings supporting queens, but I just want to say, and I know our other brother that was on here, he had cell phone issues, brother Hines, or I can't think of his name right now. He was trying to log on.
Herman.
Yeah, Herman. Sorry, brother Herman. If you're watching, we know you had some Wi-Fi connectivity issues. Nothing personal. We love you. Next time you had a computer, you want to join in, definitely join in. Wish you was here to hear your voice as well. But to Brother Robinson, thank you. Thank you for being a leader of the community, showing Black males what Black families is about, Black fatherhood is about. and just being there, because I think that's something that we really got to push moving forward in our community, the right messaging, the right imagery. And, it takes time. It don't always happen. We got enough negative imagery, but part of the narrative shift, telling the story of Black San Francisco and beyond is our job. And, seeing you here, that's what that narrative look like. Our Black dads involved in loving relationships. And we know they always ain't perfect, but being there, standing up and being a champ is what it's all about. So thank you as well. And Brother Hines over there, I'm not going to forget Brother Hines. He been driving. He's another good father in the community. We see you. We thank you too, King, for doing what you do. And I see your babies going to college and, all the work you all do in the community. We love you and support you as well, brother. So I don't want to leave you out. And to all of our fathers out there that do a phenomenal job, it ain't just Father's Day. We're going to recognize you here at both sides of the conversation. We always going to highlight and uplift our kings of the community, because there are a lot that's out there doing the work. So many times we get bashed for the wrong way, but it's a lot of brothers that's doing it. So with that being said, thank you all for joining in. This Tuesday, we will have another segment of Hidden Gems. Please nominate a business. If you know a Black business out, we want to help get our community to know where they at so we can patronize those businesses and give them that economical power that they need, because sometimes those businesses are the ones that hire people who look like us. And to our phenomenal community leaders, please join us this Tuesday. This Thursday, we'll have another educational Thursday presentation where we'll be learning about financial literacy from Cynthia and her team. They'll be coming back on. And then next Sunday, we'll be talking about COVID. We'll be talking about the vaccination, testing. We'll have some Black doctors on here. We'll have some people from DPH, and we still have some room for some other doctors. If you're across this country and you run across it and you want to be a part of this conversation, we'll be talking about the vaccination process, breaking down some of the myth, and really educating our community to understand what's going on so people are not so much confused. And then that'll be it. And we'll get to the end of the month with relationship. It'll be a very, very powerful conversation. And then that following Sunday, we'll be talking about colorism. I think it is time for our community to have a real conversation about colorism, because I do believe it does impact us as a people. And sometimes we don't acknowledge it, but it's a problem. I feel it all the time. I think I'm getting a little light skin with this light on me, so I'm not going to go there. But thank you all for tuning in today. God bless you all. Keep loving our babies. Keep loving the community. We will continue to be there to support you. We'll see you all for our next live episode this Tuesday. Have a great evening. Thank you all for tuning in.